A 10-year-old girl walks out her front door on a snowy morning, heading to school just like she'd done hundreds of times before. Within 60 minutes, she would vanish without a trace. Her favorite color was purple. She dreamed of being a cheerleader who would be kind to everyone. And on October 5, 2012, someone was watching her, waiting for her, hunting her. This is the story of Jessica Ridgway, and how a community's worst nightmare became a heartbreaking reality that would change Colorado forever. Before we begin, if you find value in these stories, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us continue bringing these important stories to light. To truly understand what was lost on October 5, 2012, you need to know who Jessica Christine Ridgway was. She wasn't just a headline or a statistic. She was a real little girl with dreams, with personality, with a favorite color, and a laugh that could fill any room she entered. Jessica was born on January 23, 2002, in Colorado. From the moment she came into this world, her family noticed something special about her. They said she had an old soul, a child who seemed wise beyond her years, yet who embraced childhood with complete enthusiasm and joy. By age 10, Jessica had developed a fierce sense of independence that impressed everyone who knew her. She had actually asked her mother Sarah for her own alarm clock because she wanted to wake herself up for school. Think about that for a moment. How many 10-year-olds voluntarily ask for more responsibility? But that was Jessica. She was always looking ahead, always practicing for the teenager and adult she couldn't wait to become. Jessica lived in a single-story home on Moore Street in Westminster, Colorado, with her mother Sarah, her grandmother, and her aunt. The household was predominantly female, filled with what family members described as constant conversation, laughter, and the particular chaos that comes with multiple generations living under one roof. It was a home filled with love. Her parents, Sarah and Jeremiah Bryant, had separated years before. Her father lived in Independence, Missouri, more than 600 miles away. Despite the distance and some ongoing matters regarding custody, Jessica maintained a relationship with both parents. She was loved by both, and she knew it. Jessica attended Witt Elementary School, where she was in the 5th grade. The school served approximately 330 students in the Jefferson County School District. It was roughly 1 mile from Jessica's home, a distance she walked regularly, sometimes alone, sometimes with friends. It was a route she knew by heart, a route that should have been safe. Her teacher, Shalia Grace, knew Jessica as a bright, engaged student who always completed her assignments and participated in class discussions. But what stood out even more than her intelligence was her kindness. Jessica was the type of child who would notice if someone looked sad and go out of her way to cheer them up. She had a gift for making people feel seen and valued. Her family called her their rock, an interesting designation for the youngest member of the household. But Jessica had that quality. She could sense emotions in others and responded with empathy that seemed far beyond her years. At age 10, Jessica was already developing emotional intelligence that many adults never achieve. She was becoming the kind of person who makes the world better simply by existing in it. Her hobbies painted a picture of a typical American preteen in the early 2010s. She loved Nickelodeon shows, particularly Victorious, Shake It Up, and Wizards of Waverly Place. Her favorite song was Carly Rae Jepsen's Call Me Maybe, a detail that would later bring both smiles and tears when it was played at her memorial service. Jessica loved to dance. Not formal dance lessons necessarily, but the spontaneous dancing that children do when music plays. She would make up her own choreography, create her own songs, perform little shows for her family. She loved playing dress-up, caring for her pets, and looking after her neighbor's cats. She was a child who found joy in simple things. And then there was purple. Purple was Jessica's absolute favorite color. Not pink, which is what many people might assume for a 10-year-old girl. Purple. Deep, rich, royal purple. She had purple-framed glasses that she wore constantly because her eyesight wasn't good without them. She loved anything and everything purple. Purple clothes, purple accessories, purple notebooks for school. This detail, this simple preference for a particular color, would soon become a symbol that would unite an entire community in grief and hope. Physically, Jessica stood 4 feet 10 inches tall and weighed approximately 80 pounds. She had shoulder-length blonde hair that caught the light, bright blue eyes that sparkled with curiosity and kindness, and that distinctive gap between her front 2 teeth that gave her smile extra character. She had a small mark on her nose, hidden beneath her glasses frames, the kind of minor childhood injury that happens during active play and heals quickly. Jessica was a member of the Stanley Lake Pee Wee Cheer Clinic. Cheerleading wasn't just an activity for her. It was a passion and a dream. She had already announced her future plans to anyone who would listen. She was going to be a high school cheerleader. But not just any cheerleader. She wanted to be, in her own words, a cheerleader who will be kind to everyone. Pause on that for a moment. A 10-year-old child dreaming about her teenage years already knew that kindness mattered more than popularity or athletic ability. She was setting her own standards for the person she wanted to become. That tells you everything you need to know about who Jessica was at her core. Jessica's mother, Sarah Ridgway, worked an overnight shift at a software company in Boulder. Her schedule ran from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., a difficult arrangement, but one that worked for their family's needs. Sarah would return home just as Jessica was waking up. They would spend the morning together as Jessica prepared for school. Then Sarah would sleep while Jessica was in class, waking up around 4 in the afternoon, just in time to greet her daughter when she came home. It was their routine, and it worked. This routine required trust and responsibility from Jessica. She had to get herself ready in the mornings. She had to walk to school without her mother accompanying her. For a 10-year-old, this was significant independence. But Jessica had proven herself capable time and time again. The system worked perfectly, until it didn't. On Thursday, October 4th, 2012, everything was completely normal. Jessica went to school, came home, did her homework, played with her pets, probably watched some television. It was an unremarkable Thursday, the kind of day that becomes precious only in retrospect, when you realize it was the last normal day you'll ever have. That evening, Jessica went to bed at her usual time. She set her alarm clock for 7:45 the next morning. She laid out her clothes for school. She was organized, prepared, responsible, all the things parents hope their children will be. She was doing everything right. Neither Jessica nor her mother could have known that Friday, October 5th, 2012, would be anything but ordinary. Neither of them could have known that a 17-year-old individual had been driving around their neighborhood, watching, waiting, hunting. Friday morning began exactly as planned. Jessica's alarm clock went off at 7:45. She woke up, turned off the alarm, and began her morning routine, just like she had done countless times before. She came downstairs and watched a little television while eating a granola bar. Then she went back upstairs to get dressed and prepare for her day. Sarah, who had just finished her overnight shift and arrived home, helped Jessica with a few last-minute preparations. Together, they peeled an orange for Jessica to take to school. Jessica filled her water bottle, a bottle that would later become crucial evidence in this case. She gathered her backpack, the pink and black one decorated with characters from Victorious, with a keychain bearing her name dangling from the zipper. Outside, snow was falling, the first real snow of autumn, coming down in those big, wet flakes that make everything look magical. Colorado was getting its first taste of winter, and for a child like Jessica, that made the morning even more exciting. Jessica bundled up in her black puffy jacket with pink lining. She pulled on black boots with pom-poms attached. She adjusted her purple-framed glasses on her nose, making sure they sat comfortably. She was ready for school, ready for another day of learning and playing with her friends. Grimson joined the Royal Navy in 1978 and had served for 21 years. Traveling across the globe aboard HMS Illustrious and HMS Edinburgh. Navy colleagues had given Grimson the nickname Frank, short for Frankenstein, due to his appearance. It is said that Grimson suffered from low self-esteem, and he was later diagnosed with severe personality disorder. Allan Grimson admitted his guilt in the deaths of Nicholas Wright and Sean Jenkins at Winchester Crown Court. Judge Mr. Justice Cresswell described Grimson as a highly dangerous individual who had taken 2 young lives in horrifying and appalling circumstances. In 2001, the judge handed down a 22-year sentence. This was increased to 25 years by the Home Secretary, but then reduced back down to 22 years on appeal to reflect the 3 years Grimson had spent on remand. Disturbingly, while in prison, Grimson was made a listener, a position in which he was trusted to offer companionship and counseling to young, mentally ill prisoners. While acting as a listener, Grimson assaulted a vulnerable 21-year-old man. Though the judge in that case recommended he never be released from prison, Allan Grimson's 22-year sentence would have been completed in the year 2023. No information about what has happened to him after this time is currently available. Following the conviction of Allan Grimson, Hampshire police launched Operation Thornhill. The objective of this operation was to reinvestigate the disappearance of Simon Parr, but also to consider Grimson's involvement in other cold cases. When Hampshire police questioned him in relation to the case, Grimson confessed to taking Simon's life and burying him in Gibraltar's botanical gardens. Extensive searches were carried out at this location, as well as at a military barracks, a storm drain, and Gibraltar's Trafalgar Cemetery. Forensics teams, sniffer dogs, and sonar equipment were used, but no trace of Simon was found. Grimson would later withdraw his confession. Investigators, however, had to stick to what they knew for sure. Allan Grimson had served aboard HMS Illustrious alongside Simon. Grimson, for reasons that remain unknown, targeted his victims on December 12. Simon disappeared on December 12, 1986. Grimson was discovered to have been seen in the Horseshoe Bar at the same time that Simon was witnessed leaving the venue. Grimson targeted young men. Simon was 18 years old. Appeals were made across Gibraltar and among current and former Navy personnel. One unnamed former sailor came forward, claiming to have walked back to HMS Illustrious from a bar with Allan Grimson and another young sailor who he didn't know. The man claims that after arriving back at the ship, Grimson and the young sailor decided to return to the town. This claim could not be verified, and even if true, it's unknown if the young sailor in question was Simon Parr. With all avenues of investigation once again proving fruitless, Margaret Parr requested to meet with Grimson in prison. Police advised against this, and Mrs. Parr instead wrote a letter telling Grimson that she bore no ill will towards him and that she simply wanted peace of mind and closure. Grimson didn't respond, and the renewed search for Simon would turn cold. Simon's case would be the subject of a 2005 BBC documentary titled Body Hunt: The Search for Simon Parr. In the documentary, it was revealed that police believe Allan Grimson may be responsible for as many as 10 or more disappearances, and that Simon may have been his first victim. Police also revealed that they had looked at 20 other cases of missing sailors during their investigation, and that they had visited ports around the world. Around this time, BBC's Crime Watch would also feature Simon's case. Grimson would complain that the BBC's coverage unfairly implicated him in something which he denied any involvement in, and that he wasn't given adequate opportunity to respond to the makers of the show. Grimson's formal complaint to the United Kingdom's communications regulator Ofcom was rejected. A new witness came forward in 2019 with what police described as credible information. Based on this tip, Gibraltar's Trafalgar Cemetery was again searched by a specialist forensics team. Detective Inspector Roger Woods said the new information made Trafalgar Cemetery more interesting and more significant than it was in the early 2000s. He also said that Hampshire Constabulary had received new information from a witness which had been assessed as credible, and based on that information, they were beginning a search operation and conducting further inquiries in Gibraltar with the hope of finally locating Simon's remains. Bone fragments were found, though these were later proven to not be human. As recently as 2020, further searches were conducted in Gibraltar, though again nothing was found. As of 2022, Simon Parr remains missing and his case unsolved. Gibraltar-based journalist and broadcaster Rosa Stango has been researching Simon's case, with a book and documentary in the works. HMS Illustrious was decommissioned in 2014 and scrapped in 2016 after over 3 decades in service. In 2022, To mark what would have been Simon's 54th birthday, a tree was planted and a plaque installed in his memory. The memorial event, organized by Rosa Stango, was attended by Simon's parents and 6 former crewmates. Speaking in 2019, Margaret Parr said, "We know there's a chance we won't get the answers we so desperately want, but it would mean the world to us if we could finally bring Simon home. We will never give up hope of finding him." 18-year-old Simon Parr disappeared in Gibraltar on December 12, 1986. The last known sighting of Simon was at 10:30 in the evening at the Horseshoe Bar. Simon served aboard HMS Illustrious, which was one of a flotilla of 8 vessels, including Beaver, Manchester, Amazon, Bayleaf, Fort Grange, and Swiftsea. Simon stood at 5 feet 8 inches tall and was of slight build. He had light brown hair and a West Country accent. Simon was last seen wearing a pale gray t-shirt, a long-sleeved blue and gray crew neck jumper with a diamond pattern, and gray shoes. If alive today, Simon would be 54 years old. If you have any information about the disappearance of Simon Parr, please contact Royal Gibraltar Police on 272 500 or Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111. Thank you for watching Cold Case Chronicle. If you found this case as intriguing as we did, please give this video a like, share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into unsolved mysteries. Your support helps us continue bringing these important stories to light.